Hello and welcome back to Strong Woman Highs - Life is a Mishmash. Got it that time. Luckily it cut out earlier when I did it wrong, so we had to do it again anyway. But today I'm on a bit of an adventure and we have a special guest today instead of Jenny. We have Mollie Wagstaff.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Would you like to do a brief introduction about yourself, Mollie? So where did you start? What do you do? What weight class are you? All that sort of jazz.
Yep. I'm Mollie. I compete in the 64s, sometimes 73s, but for this pathway, the 64s, in the UKNSF that we're going to be discussing today. I've been competing in Strong Woman for 9 years, had a small hiatus to have a baby, but then came back into the Strong Woman life. And I've also been coaching Strong Woman now for about 2 years. Nice. So yeah, that's me.
Very nice. So Mollie is my coach, for anybody who doesn't know. I started off with a little 8-week taster program that you did, didn't you? Try and find some athletes, and I enjoyed it that much I never left. But no, it's been really good. So in today's episode, we're obviously going to stick to the usual. We're going to do our sensible let's talk about UKNS today, and we're going to run through the events. I know we have one event that still hasn't had event weights released, but we might have some little sneaky insider information. So we're going to discuss through them. And the beauty of having Mollie here is that we can discuss how she's going to program, or how she would program for these events. Because obviously you have, how many athletes do in UKs?
Three and myself, yeah. So yeah, plenty of programming to be done for this comp, which is exciting.
And like different levels of programming depending on people's strengths as well, I guess. So we'll talk through the events, we'll talk through the weights, we might make some predictions in our own classes. We're not going to talk about other classes though until the proper athlete list has been released, but don't worry, we will do a predictions when it's been released and it'll be brutal. But yeah, so we'll do that and then we'll get on to some silly goosing. So to start off with, our favourite event, Maxwell. This is a good one for me because I'm technically already training a Maxwell, which for anyone who doesn't know, because I know quite a few people obviously don't do strongman but listen to the podcast, it's max axle. So that's an axle bar, which is pretty much just like a scaffolding bar, and you go floor to overhead with it any which way you want. So should we discuss how you're going to program me for this?
Yeah, absolutely. So a good one for us. We like training all overhead, but I think Maxwell's got to be a favourite, hasn't it?
Best one.
It's a beautiful one. We like going heavy. So the programming for Axel, I really like adding in some heavy cleans. I think they're really beneficial.
Yeah.
Obviously, when we're talking about floor to overhead events, we want the position in the rack, so on your chest, to be as good as it can be. So I think doing heavy cleans can be so helpful, so that when you're cleaning the bar, you're landing it really nicely on your chest in a position that you're happy to press or jerk from. So doing the cleans heavier just gets you drilling that, gets you dropping underneath it, gets them really nice and snappy, ready for when they're slightly lighter for your actual floor to overhead.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're a big feature.
We love them. I love them as a warm-up for my axle sessions. I always do my heavy cleans before I start anything, because if anything, it makes it feel better, like as you get to your working sets and stuff. But yeah, I agree. Heavy cleans is the one, and if you're not doing them, you're missing out big time.
Absolutely, and they've got to be good. Like, they make your technique so much better, because if you're going for a clean that is over 100% of what you are doing on your floor to overhead, you can't mess it up. It's got to be right.
Yeah.
So you've got to drop under it. You've got to have decent intent from your belt to your chest. You can't be letting it go dead on your belt. It's got to be good. So then you make it good because it's got to be. And then when you go to your floor to overhead, you've primed that technique and it's really good for your floor to overhead. So yeah, they're brilliant to do on your session where you're going heavy floor to overhead to get you primed.
Yeah, 100%.
Love them. Yeah, love them.
I like them. And then other stuff. So specifically what I've been doing, jerk dips, I know people hate them because it makes you look like you're not doing anything, but I tried to explain on Instagram why we do this, and I think I just hashed it completely, so you can explain why we do those.
Yeah, jerk dip's pretty specific to jerkers. We are both going to be using the split jerk technique to do the maximal floor to overhead. But also if you're a power jerker or a push jerker, jerk dips are super relevant. So it's basically having, again, heavier than what you're going to press on the bar. So it might be like 105% of your max overhead. And you're just doing the dip and drive. So you're unlocking your knees and driving it off your chest, trying to get the air off your chest. And then you would jerk underneath it, but it's literally just that dip and drive in this case. And again, it's priming that line. So with these, you're going to get loads of feedback. So if you're slightly on your toes in the dip and drive, you're either going to drop it or it's going to roll forwards. It's going to feel rats because it's heavy. So if you get the weight nicely in midfoot / heel on your dip and drive, you are going to feel your glutes and hamstrings engaging more, and you're going to get that nice feedback, and then that should prime how you want to feel for your dip and drive on your weight, so you're actually going to press.
Yeah, I agree. I like the jerk dips as well, because I'd seen a cue the other day that was like, it's like loading your legs, like, because so for people who are split jerking, power jerking, push jerking, whatever, the whole process is coming from your legs, basically. You're not using your arms. Like, if you're using your arms, you're doing it wrong.
100%. So, we don't have any arms.
Yeah, like, you need to be loading those legs and getting those legs used to doing those little explosive dips, because that'll then carry over so much better to the actual press. And then I think one of the, well, maybe not the final one, but there's other stuff, but one of the other final ones that I really like is jerk recoveries. Mm-hmm. So again, a good one for split jerkers, power jerkers, all that sort of stuff. So do you want to explain why we do that as well?
Yeah, jerk recoveries, these are really good for building your overhead stability. So it's where you've got the bar set up super high, you're splitting underneath it, or you could power jerk underneath it, and you are then just standing it up, so recovering the jerk. So it's to build that overhead stability and priming your body for having the heavier weights above your head. A good way, me and Becca do these slightly differently. Becca's been setting them up in a rack, so if you've got a rack where you can set up the bar nice and high, that's ideal. I don't have that, so I've been doing them on a yoke, which is also really good. So putting the yoke crossbar really high, splitting underneath it, and then recovering the yoke. I find this really good actually because it's less stable than a barbell, because obviously the weights are on the four corners of the yoke, so it's more swingy. So it's actually a little bit harder, which means it's helping your overhead stability more. And it's also easier to set up, or
way
possible
easier
to set up for me, because I don't have a
easier.
rack that goes that high. So that's another option. I know a lot of strongman gyms have yokes lying around, so that's a good option if you can't set your bar up dead high. So they're really good for building overhead stability. Last one I'll just throw in is technical work. So if you're planning on split jerking, just loads of technical work.
Yeah.
Really light. We still, I would say we're both pretty proficient split jerkers.
Yeah.
But we still do loads of technical work on our jerk, because you could spend your whole life learning how to split jerk. It's so technical, and there's
100%.
so many little things that can make it better, make it stronger, make it more stable. Like, you've been doing some pauses, haven't you, in your splits? And technical work.
I was going to bring that up as well, because I've got a split base now at the moment, haven't I, where I do a session that's light, and then I do my pauses and stuff like that, and then I have a heavier session, because although I think, I agree with you, the technical work is important at lower weights, but my technique specifically starts to break down at 90% and above. So I've sort of we've been trying to sort of increase my capacity at the higher weights. But that's another thing I was going to say about your programming. So when you programmed me for the 90 kilo log last year for Europes, you programmed me the whole time for doubles. I never actually hit any singles, and I've done that again. We've just started it again for this record for the Axel, and then obviously it'll follow on to UK's. But I like that, and I think that works well for females as well, because one, I don't think females are as good as males at doing a complete and utter 1 rep max. I think we always have a little bit more capacity for reps at the higher weights, and I just think it takes the pressure off if it's not a 1 rep max. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but like when I was doing the log, I was hitting PBs, but they were doubles. So in my head, I was like, well, these are easy.
Yeah, 100%.
These are way easier because the doubles are not actually singles.
Yeah, 100%. And I think also, particularly for jerkers, it's not like tiring. Like, if you hit something for one, you're not going to be tired then to go for a double, because it's more technique. Like, obviously you're not going to go for your deadlift 1 rep max for a double, but it is slightly different going for a jerk. So that, and also I've forgotten what I was going to say.
That's okay.
It'll come back to me. But yeah, I think the heavy doubles are really helpful, and you're getting more of that skill exposure as well, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%, yeah. And I think this is important to note. For UKNS, it's a rising bar. So in all weight classes, I think the females, it's going up in 5 kilo jumps. I like the rising bar because it's not going to be taxing. Like, when I do, obviously now, when I know what my working sets are going to be, my warm-ups are very limited. But when I've tried to go for 1 rep maxes, I'll work up in 2.5 kilo jumps every single time. Yeah. And because I don't feel tired from doing them, like, it doesn't take it out of me like it would a deadlift. Like, my deadlift jumps are always 10 kilos or above, because I know that if I'm going for 5 kilos, there's no point.
It's going to smoke you.
Yeah, it's 100%. Just going to wreck me. But so I think then that leads on to, if you're a natural female and you aren't bothering to learn how to push jerk or split jerk, you're missing a vital part of your overhead gains.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not an easy thing to learn, but it is so worth it. Like, I do think, natty female shoulders are never going to be that strong. No. So yeah, I do think I would go as far as saying for anyone, but particularly for natty females. Yeah. Jerking is a no-brainer for me, like some sort of jerk. I know not everyone likes to split. Like, I've got some clients that it really triggers, like, knee issues, so they're more of push jerkers, power jerkers, but some kind of double knee bend in there. It is, definitely a game changer. The other thing, I've remembered what I was going to say before, about going for the doubles rather than singles. I do think... I'm not going to say it's a downfall, but one thing to be mindful of using split jerks in competitions is sometimes nerves can get the better of you. It depends on how you are as an athlete and how you perform, but sometimes nerves can get the better of you, and you can feel jittery for that first lift. And if you're doing something that's quite technical, like a split jerk, it can then mess you up slightly if you're really jittery and nervous. So I think if you're walking out, if it's a heavy log, like you mentioned for OSG Europes, which it was for most of us, I would say, or us, it was pretty heavy, and if you're walking out to that log thinking, it's heavy, but I've doubled it, then you're going to feel confident.
Sorry, Sophie.
Apologise for the dog.
She really wants to be a part of the podcast. Sorry, mate, you can't.
You're not natty. If you are walking out to that platform thinking, I've doubled this way, you're going to feel so confident, rather than going out thinking, this is my PB, and I'm jittering anyway because I'm at a big competition. Like, I think that is a helpful tool to use in terms of programming leading up to a heavy overt event.
100%, yeah. So, if you want to learn how to split jerk, just go and do it. Make the effort, learn.
Definitely.
It's really not like, it isn't that hard, and there's so many good coaches out there that have the ability to do it. Even go and do a weightlifting class, or like loads of CrossFit gyms do weightlifting classes, and like the majority that I've been to are sound, and that's enough to teach you the basics of how to do a split jerk, power jerk, whatever. And get that understanding of dropping below a bar instead of trying to push press it. But that brings us back round to the rising bar. if you're push pressing that rising bar, you're going to fatigue faster than someone who's push or split jerking that. So in my head, a tactical game plan is to learn how to split jerk or push jerk so that when you get to that point, you're not wrecked by, like, because we don't know how fast that event's going to run. In UKNS style, it would seem it's probably going to run quick.
Pretty quick.
Which, if that is the case, you don't want to be smoked going out for your, like, if say your PB's like 85 or 90 or whatever, but you're having to work up from 70. By the time you get to 85, 90, if you've only had a couple of minutes in between each rep, you're going to be absolutely smoked. Your triceps and your shoulders are going to be wrecked. Whereas, like, if you're split jerking it, you're probably not.
No, you're going to be sound. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but it is something that takes a lot of practice.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can go and learn it, but then it is going to be. And I say to people, like, it doesn't have to be heavy practice. You can practice on a broom handle and get in like 100 reps of, you know, as often as you can on a broom handle. That's where you're going to learn your basics. That's what I did to learn the basics of it.
Yeah, 100%. And it's one of those ones as well that you can train 2 or 3 times a week. It's not that taxing. So if you want to do it, then just crack on, do it. Learn it. Join the split jerk crew. So that's axle out of the way. So should we do deadlifts? Deadlifts will be nice and easy.
I'm not going to say much about that.
No, I hate deadlifts.
We
Get
don't
in the bin. No, so I wanted to say I like the fact that they're going to do it dual weight choices. I think that's really good, and I think it gives everyone the opportunity to at least get points on the board, because I think that's really shan when you do an event, especially when they set an event like so heavy that there's only 2 or 3 people per class getting a rep or a couple of reps. You get your like outliers, and then everyone else zeroes it, and it just puts the whole field at such a disadvantage. Like, I'm not ripping Natty Worlds, but like the squat event at Natty Worlds last year, like it set so many people off on such an advantage because loads of people zeroed it. So I think them having the 2 weight choices this time for the deadlift is really, well, it's not good because it's annoying, but that's because I want to win. But in terms of making it an interesting competition to watch, it will make it better.
Yeah, and in terms of being accessible, like, nobody wants to go and zero an event, so hopefully having these choices, nobody will. And yeah, it means that you can, not zero. So I think it's one of the things I really like about this pathway, like having the weight options in most of the events. It's brilliant, and it does make it accessible, which I think is the vibe, isn't it, that this pathway has, which is brilliant, because obviously we all want the sport to grow and everyone who wants to be involved. So yeah, I think it's good having the options.
Yeah, 100%.
If we have to have a deadlift event.
If we have to have one. I know, the deadlifts, if we can just get rid of them, or just bring in deadlift suits.
Yeah, suits.
Why are you so angry about deadlift suits, you natties? Like, you can't take everything away from us. Like, at least give us deadlift suits.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a discussion for another day. So, next event, what are we talking about next?
Circus dumbbell. Another overhead event, so that is delightful.
Great for us.
2 overheads, but yeah, circus dumbbell is something a little bit different, I think. It's not one, you don't have to get monster dumbbell, let alone circus dumbbell.
I know. So the first time I've ever tried circus dumbbell was today, like a couple of hours ago at the gym, and I was horrified with how much harder it is than a monster dumbbell. Like, the first time I couldn't even get it on my shoulder. It was just like wobbling all over, and I thought, there's no way. And that was with 42 kilos, so my whole goal of, like, I'm just going to go and rep the biggest dumbbell might have slightly dipped out the window there.
It's early days. I believe we'll get there.
I think we can get there. But again, so there's good weight choices, like massive ranges as well, which I think's really good. It is a point to note, which I didn't know until it was clarified, that if you get a rep on a heavier dumbbell, you can't then drop down a dumbbell. So if you get a rep and fail it, then you can't drop down to a lower weight and go, oh, I'll just rep this out and gain some points back. So it's going to have to be fairly tactically played.
If you fail your heavyweight, you can go down.
Yeah, if you fail it, but if you get a rep then fail it, you can't then drop down. So you're set with one rep at your heavyweight.
Yeah, is what counts,
Which 1 rep at heavier weight is going to trump obviously any reps at lower weights, but
Yeah.
you then run the risk of someone coming and getting a double or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And wrecking you. But yeah, I think so. How would you explain the differences between like monster dumbbell and circus dumbbell for technique wise?
Yeah, so for anyone that's unsure of the difference, the monster dumbbells are the ones that you sort of see more commonly in strongman events, strongman gyms. They're the big, massive,
Big cylinder ones that
Yeah.
look like kegs.
yeah, big giant ones. They're monster dumbbells. The circus dumbbells are like the classic old school strongman look, like the globe, round ends and fat handle, a lot smaller than the monster dumbbell, which is where the main issues come from, because it's difficult to get it in a nice rack position. So by rack position, I mean where it's sat on your shoulder before you attempt to press it. And that is key to any overhead. Your rack position is key, like we were saying on axle.
Yeah.
If you can't get this dumbbell into a nice solid rack position, you have absolutely no hope of pressing it. So that's why, as Becca's saying, we've found it more difficult than the monster dumbbell, because the monster dumbbell is big. You can sit it behind your head, you can get it sat nice. We've had a lot of exposure to it. We've done a lot of monster dumbbell and we've found that nice rack position. So we find that quite easy to clean it to a nice spot, get it in a nice position, and then it's easy to press. But the circus dumbbell is smaller, so it's harder to get it sat in a nice position. All the weight is concentrated into those globes because it's small, so they feel heavy. And also, we've not had a lot of exposure to it, like you say. It's
No,
first
I've
time
never
today.
tried it before ever, so
So-
it was a big shock to the system today.
I do have hope that it's going to get easier, but yeah, I do think they're a very different kettle of fish compared to the monster. So yeah, I think as with a lot of strongman events, it is worth, not now because obviously we've got a lot of time before UKs, but it is worth getting specific. Like, for example, for this event, there is no point training this event on a monster dumbbell. It's got to be a circus dumbbell. And I do think most people have the capacity to travel somewhere to train on a circus dumbbell. I don't think it's good enough to say, oh, I haven't got one. Most people can go and train on one. Because, training this on a monster is not the same.
No, definitely not. And I would even if you've got one in the gym, so like the one in your gym's 42, and like I didn't press it today, but just practicing the rack position with it. If you've got dumbbells that are way too heavy for you to do anything with, just try and get them into that rack position and find that like weightless position similar to the monster, so that you know where you are, because you'll find if you get the rack position right, training the rack position, it's the main part of it. The press will come. Like, if the rack position's right, the press should be easy.
Yeah, definitely. And if you feel like it's even too heavy for you to clean and practice the rack position, get someone to help you. Like, do a 2-man clean and get it sat where you feel like you can stabilise it. That's better than nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know Luke at Chaos has got the full set. I know Stephen at GBA's got the full set, or will have the full set.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're around to train on.
There's plenty of them. Like, I know there's some knocking about in York in Dominus. Where else? There's just loads. If you don't know where they are, ask about, because you'll find them, and it's definitely worth trying to at least get a couple of training sessions in on them before the event, because I think I was shocked with how different it was today. So it's definitely something we're going to have to work on.
Yeah.
So we've done a bit about circus dumbbell, pretty happy with that. I think that's just going to be a case of the most exposure you can get to it, the better you're going to be. And I think that's it. It's going to be a very personal technique to you, I think, because of how awkward it is. So there's loads of different ways to do it. An interesting one to look at will be Chloe Brennan doing the one at, can you remember England's, was it last year or the year before, where she had it in a really low rack position.
Yeah.
So
and split jerked it, didn't she?
Yeah, and she split jerked it, and that was it. It was probably more similar to a monster dumbbell, but it had the globes which were weighted really oddly.
It looked hard to rack.
It was, and I managed to rack it, but I'm obviously a lot bigger than Chloe, and so she then changed the technique and got that like low rack position, and that worked great for her. And I think that if you're struggling with circus dumbbell, that's definitely something to look into, because that would probably be a decent technique for it if you're very efficient at jerking. But then I think I've seen Rosie Abercrombie do similar with a push press.
Yeah.
And she holds it really low in the rack. So, yeah, that's there's another option there for you to look at. Moving on to sandbags.
Yeah.
So this is a bit of a different one because it's odd object sandbag. So we've got a normal sandbag, which is pretty heavy. Mine's 90. What's yours?
80. Yeah.
So that is quite heavy.
Well over body weight. Yeah.
And then into two odd objects ones. So there's a cube and a slab, which... I mean, feels fairly explanatory what they're going to look like, but they're both at 75, so they're all at 75 for everybody, aren't they?
All weight classes, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how much different the pickups and the carries are going to be with the different shaped bags. But in my head, it all just feels very light.
The 75s, yeah, it's interesting that they are the same for all weight classes. I think... yeah, it's not that light probably for hours for the 57s and the 64s. 5 kilos less than the normal sandbag. And I'm guessing they're going to be a little bit more difficult to handle, if not because of the shape, but purely because nobody's had that much exposure to them. They're probably a new thing around. Yeah. But yeah, for you guys and for the opens, that is very light. Which is going to make programming for it and training for it slightly different. So like for the lower weight classes, obviously, if it's slightly heavier, it's going to be all about getting it into a decent position because obviously you've got to load it at the end and to be able to move with it and things. For you guys, where it's actually quite light, it's going to be split seconds probably between the top people. So it's all going to be about your transitions, your pickups, your turns, making all that really efficient because, yeah, it's quite light for you. Like, probably no one's really going to struggle with it weight-wise in the heavier weight classes. So, yeah, programming for someone in the 64s to programming you guys in the 82s is going to be probably a slightly different ball game, really, because it's, yeah, as you say, fairly light for you.
Yeah, you're going against like an almost maximal sandbag run to then a speed sandbag run. Because when I saw it, I just thought like it's going to be split seconds between these times. It's going to be that every second counts, isn't it? So that's where like your pick and turns over your running around to the right side of the sandbag will start to come into play, I think. But then that's going to be interesting to see how that works with the different shaped sandbags, because I wonder how they're going to set them up, like, because if that slab's laid on the floor, depending on how wide it is, that's potentially going to be fairly tricky. And then is it a load as well? Is it loaded at the end? Yeah, it's a
load over 48 inches, I think, at the end.
Which is quite high.
Yeah, it's 4 foot, isn't it? So it's yeah.
Which again is going to be fairly hard work for the like 57s, 64s, and potentially 73s. Well, there's quite a few tall 73s in there, but yeah, like 48's quite a...
It's decent, isn't it? It's not low, and it's how sloppy floppy that slab's gonna be. Like,
I know,
is it gonna? I would imagine the sandbag and the cube are just gonna pop over quite nicely, but the slab, I don't know. Is it gonna be?
I don't know, because I don't know whether it's gonna be like. Well, it can't be Hoosfeld, because otherwise they just call it that. So in my head, I've got like a long rectangle like bag shape. That's what I'm sort of thinking it's going to be. But then Stephen has confirmed that it's going to be tightly packed. It's not going to be floppy. No. But then depending on how long it is, it might be floppy anyway.
Yeah, if it's long and thin, it's gonna bend
flop,
more than a sandbag or a cube, isn't it? So
I think it'll just be down to what the bags are like. But again, this is going to be one where you're just going to have to travel to train it, aren't you?
Yeah.
Find out.
I know the Strength Register bags, aren't they? And I think Strength Register have sold out of them.
Yeah,
because everyone's buying one
to
train on. So yeah, again, it's about in the weeks coming up, for now it's fine training on sandbags that we've already got, but in the weeks closer to comp, it is worth at least once getting your hands on the actual ones or very similar ones. Yeah, they're around, and I do think it is worth being specific. Like, people say, oh, just train, just get strong, that's enough. It's not enough. It's especially when things aren't that heavy, like for the opens and 82s, the 75 bags. You could be stronger than the next girl, but if she's drilled her turns, if she's drilled her pickups, if she's had exposure to the actual kit, she's going to beat you. It doesn't matter how strong you are. If you're slow, then
100%.
that's that, and it's the difference between points, and it's the difference between placings. So yeah, in my opinion, is worth being well specific with those. Definitely.
I think that's relevant in the whole of like training. If you're doing strongman comps and you're I know it's hard, some people don't have access to equipment, but if you're not willing to travel, or you're not willing to try and make the effort to get to that equipment and train it, that's 100% on you. And like, I don't think, I'm not blaming Krisha here, but I don't think she'll mind me saying, but obviously when we did Natty Worlds, she was like, I knew she was strong. She was going to be my main competition, and I genuinely believe that because my training was so specific for those events, that's why I was able to come out on top of that situation. Like, for example, the fingals, the sandbags, a couple of like the sandbag throws and stuff. I know when she was doing throws, she wasn't using anything to go over. She was just throwing the bags. And like, I think she's definitely stronger than me. In like, if we had to do a powerlifting competition, she'd wreck me. Like, I've no doubt about it whatsoever. But because I was able to be so specific and so technical, I was just able to pip her on loads of those events. And I think that's a really important part of strongman, especially in like the natty women's scene. Like, bloody hell, we don't have drugs, we don't really have muscles, so we've got to use everything else, haven't we?
Absolutely, we've got to be skillful. That's all we've got.
If you're not technical and skilled, mate, what are you working with? So yeah, like,
definitely. And even like with the overhead medley, I think she's probably benched a silly amount, hasn't she?
Oh, she's benching like 100 kilos and stuff.
Absolutely silly upper body strength. But you drilled, the technique on the log, the technique on the
I think she did actually
axle.
beat me on that, to be fair. That's because I paced myself too much.
But as a general example, the things that you can beat someone who's stronger than you on these
100%,
things by being skillful, having that exposure to the kit, being specific. And I think you've got to do it. You've got to be specific to your sport. It's not enough to be
just
squat, deadlift, press. Like, it's not.
Yeah, 100% agree. Next event, we've done sandbags.
Farmers.
Oh, farmers. Oh,
Farmers walk, a classic.
Our favourite.
An absolute classic.
I hate training farmers, but I love it in a comp.
Yeah.
And I think the weights for this as well are really good. They're like heavy, but they're not stupid.
Yeah.
Like, they're all doable, but I think there'll be split seconds between the top, but I don't think it'll be really, really tight, if you know what I mean. I think it's going to be, it's heavy enough to separate the groups. Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's 80 for me, 90 for you. I do think that's a fairly heavy farmers run. It's 30 meters as well, so it's 10 meters drop and turn times 3. Like when I did the Arnold final last year, they were 88, so it's only 8 kilos more, and that's untested world final. So I think that's pretty spicy, to be honest. But yeah, I think the drop and turn, having the 3 10-meter lengths, bringing in those extra drop and turns, I think that is adding an extra spicy element.
100%. So I don't think Hayley will mind me saying this, but UK's last year, we had a similar, I can't remember what the weight was, 85 maybe? 85, I think it was like 10 or 12 metres, and it was 3 or 4 lengths. And Hayley Black is faster than me carrying farmers, 100%.
I remember this race.
She moves so quickly. I was so much faster dropping and turning.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason I managed to overtake her. My farmer's wasn't particularly fast.
She was moving faster than you.
She was so speedy.
I remember that
and I
race.
just caught her up straight away.
On
The
your
minute I dropped
turns.
and turned, I got ahead of her, and then that was it then. The next drop and turn, I was ahead of her again. And like that, I think the drop and turns for this is a massive underplayed part that people won't focus on. So I think I remember programming for that. You had me doing loads of fucking 5 metre runs.
Yes, and I do these myself, so you can't hate me too much because I also do them. And I remember being in the gym. Do you know what? I had 2.5 metre drop and turns, and I'd set this up. And Paul Smith and Shannon were in the gym, and Paul was like, "Mate, you've read that wrong. Yeah, there's absolutely no way you should
No
be
way you're
doing
doing
2.5 metre drop and turns." And I double checked it, and yeah, it was right, and I looked like a right dickhead. But do you know what? If you're doing 20 metres with 2.5 metre drop and turns, that's a lot of drop and turn practice.
A lot.
And it pays off. It does. It's again the split seconds that, like, you proved it, didn't you? Like you say at UK's, that win your points, that win you a race. Because if you've got one turn, then you can maybe get away with it being a bit shit.
Yeah.
If you've got 2 or 3 turns, they've got to be good. They've got to be fast, because that's when, if they're slow, someone's going to just overtake you.
100%, yeah. So I think practicing the drop and turns, and then I've really enjoyed doing heavy farmers deadlifts. I think that's improved my farmers pickup dramatically. Like, I think that's also something, if you pick up's your weak link, get doing the farmers deadlifts, because although like I've hated strapping into farmers and doing them, because I just feel like everything is against me, like I shouldn't be doing that. But it's made a huge difference for getting farmers off the floor, which again in turn will make that drop and turn so much faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it depends where your weakness lies. Like, if you are strong picking it up but you're moving slow, then you want to be doing you want to be doing your 10 metre sprints sub 5 seconds, heaviest weight you can do sub 5 seconds, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And get your footwork going. If your downfall is your pickup, then farmers deadlifts and adding in the straps, because people think they're not relevant because you're not using your grip like you will be, but they're so relevant because you're picking up that weight, and your whole nervous system exposure to picking up that heavier weight, you'd overload them, they'd be heavier, is completely relevant. And it's helped you so much, hasn't it, with your holds?
Oh, massively, yeah. It's
even
made a huge
though
difference.
you're technically not training grip because you've got your straps on, but
it's still carried over anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't feel heavy anymore because you've been picking up way heavier.
Yeah, definitely.
In your
100%.
farmer's deadlift session. So they're helpful if that is where your weakness lies.
I think the thing as well you said about timing yourself, I think that's really important, because that's something that I'd never even thought about until I started getting coached by you. But timing your sets, like even if you're just doing it over a video and you're watching it back and timing it, that's such a valuable thing to do to sort of get how fast you're going, and it gives you something to work for as well, like, and work against. And loads of people don't bother doing it because, like,
it's a pain in the ass.
Pain in the ass, yeah. So I understand why, but it's so beneficial. And it's, if you're slow running with weight, you need to get onto timing yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's having those time constraints in your programming. I really like using that as a tool. Like, I want you to go as heavy as you can, but it's got to be sub whatever 10 seconds for 20 meters or whatever. Because there's no point you going mega heavy and it being really slow, because that's not the event. Like,
it's not subject,
it's not max farmers. Like, you need to be moving fast, so load it, but if you've got to stay under your time constraints. So that's a helpful thing in programming, I find, that will speed you up, definitely.
100%. So that was farmers. What, we've only got stones left?
Just stones, yeah.
The stony
another
stones.
Classic.
So, insider information, are we going to give it out? Well, it's dependent. We've heard a few things. It might be stones, or it could be rubber stones.
Rubber balls.
Which would be interesting. I think, obviously, the main issue is tacky. Obviously, no venues want to have tacky in them, which is fair enough. People are knobheads with it, and I understand where everyone's coming from.
And we've had a real decline in events having Atlas stones, which is a shame because it's a classic, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's
a
so
strongman
much fun.
classic.
Yeah, so it's a real shame. So to be honest, I welcome with open arms rubber stones. Let's go, because like anything to bring stones back into comps, I'm all for.
Absolutely.
And then,
although the only time I've actually seen them is when we did the European Arnold in Spain, and they were so big.
Huge.
They were rubber balls. Giant rubber balls. They were so big and they were so bouncy.
Oh no.
They were all over the place. Luckily the women didn't have them, so we were just watching the men and laughing. But I think this is different. I think these are stones coated in rubber.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't be
bouncy, no.
or as big.
Yeah, no, hopefully not. And then in terms of weights, I think from what I've heard, we're probably looking at similar to what UK's was last year. So I think the under 82 stone was like 100, and then working down like 90 for the 73s, 80 for the 64s, probably 70 or 80 for the 57s, and then the Masters as well. Open's probably looking at 110, or potentially 100 as well, because I know that
maybe 100, yeah.
They'll have to make the under 82 and the Opens weights exactly the same.
You're just too strong.
Constantly testing me as to whether I can be bothered to cut again or just go into the Opens. But yeah, so I think that's sort of going to be the weights of the stones, and then it's obviously reps, which will be over a yoke.
We don't know a height yet, do we?
Don't have a height yet. I'd imagine it's going to be between 44, 48.
Yeah, I think they're heavy enough to not be too high. I think that's it's a decent weight, and I do like this because I think we're proving, it's a natty pathway, but the weights are decent. Like comparing them to big untested comps, that they're up there, and I love that because we can do them.
Yeah, 100%.
It's great, and there's nothing worse than really light weights at comps and everyone's getting 20 plus reps, and I think the weight selections are bob on, I'd say, for UK.
I'd say so as well. I said this to Stephen today, like I think this is the first time I've looked at a comp and been like, all these weights make sense, like I'm happy with all of them. Obviously it's not just down to my personal preference, but like they all make sense, and they all add up to what it should be, what the weight should be at. And it's enough of a test where if people want to push themselves, they can, or like your bottom of the pack is still not going to have a massive issue and still going to be able to get points on the board as well, which I think's really good and fair.
And then I think you get little like you might have your competition between your three at the top for podium, but then you might have people fighting for 5th and 6th for your qualifying spots. So I think having the weight options and having really decent weight selections means that you're going to have these hopefully some decent battles between people, and it makes it fun and interesting for everyone.
100%.
Right through the pack, like I think they're really good, and I think it's credit to the organisers that have had exposure to running weight class competitions, because a lot of the time it's people that have been running Opens competitions, or for the women's side of it have been just running men's competitions, and then they try and select weight for women or for weight classes, and they're just miles off. And I think it's credit to these organisers that they know the women's scene, they know the weight class scene, and it's I think they're pretty damn good.
Yeah, I don't have any issue really, which is strange for me because usually I've got problems with
Loads
everything.
of issues.
Usually I'm whinging about everything at this point, but I'm actually quite happy. But so that's all 6 events. I'm hoping they're going to run it the same as last year, where it was like a 3-hour comp and we were over and done with. But
I think if we got women's one day, men another
I think
day.
that's how it's going to run. Yeah, women's one day, men's the other. So I'd assume, like last year, what they did is they split the classes. So we had like 57s, 64s, Masters in the morning, and then 73s, 82s, Opens in the afternoon.
Oh, okay, nice.
Which I think will also work well for the sake of stuff like Max Axel, where it's rising bar, and it could potentially be a long haul, but it probably won't if they run those classes back to back.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
But so I think that's our
events.
Events, exciting.
We're going to do some cheeky predictions.
I think we should do some cheeky predictions. Should we let Sophie in first, though? Okay, and we're back. So, time for some predictions. So, we're not going to do predictions on all the weight classes, because I think it's worth waiting for the athlete list to come out, and then I'll do some deep diving on you all, because that's my favourite thing to do, and then I'll make some predictions per class. But in terms of our classes, obviously we've seen England's, we know who was there last year, and the only issue is obviously Scotland, Highlands and Wales, which I did pay attention to, but I'm not going to pretend that I know everybody who did well in all of those comps. So, would you like to start with your under 64 predictions?
Yeah, I will do my best. Again, I think I know most people. There's some people from, the Scottish and the Welsh that I don't know, and the Irish that I don't know that well. But, so yeah, please forgive me if I forget anybody important. 64s, exciting. We've got Willow from Scotland, who won the Scottish 64s. She's come up from the 57s, so won the Worlds at 57 last year, and I think her first year competing.
Yeah.
So that was insane. And actually, obviously, has come up a weight class, but still looking so competitive for the 64s. So that's going to be exciting. Doesn't seem to have a weakness, which I think is the key for strongman.
100%. Being an all-rounder.
An all-rounder is key. There is no point being a deadlift specialist or a press specialist if you can't do anything else. Willow seems to be all-round, great at everything, and working really hard. So, I'm really looking forward to competing against Willow. I haven't competed against her yet, so that is going to be a fun one for me. So I've absolutely no doubt Willow will be on the podium at UK's. Tatiana obviously won England, so I would imagine another podiumer. And then I'm really, really rubbish at the Irish and Welsh.
I'm the same. I'm not even going to attempt it for the 82s. I don't know anybody, sorry.
I don't. There's also the other English, the standard at England's. Obviously, that's the one I know the most about. The standard at England's was just insane. I think there was 15 of us in the 64s, which is a huge number, and the depth was just incredible. Like, so many girls, really performing so well, and I think it was difficult to get those qualifying spots, the 6 qualifying spots at England, and it wasn't easy. The depth was amazing, which I think is so impressive. Looking forward to competing against some of those girls from England again, because I think with the different set of events, this is the fun thing about strongman. Different people are gonna shine more, and especially with 6 different events, it's all to play for.
I know, and no grip event for this one. Obviously, I'm hoping you're expecting to win, because you didn't put yourself on that podium there, which I haven't noticed.
Yeah, but I did leave one space free.
Nice space.
I don't know. I think it is all to play for. I think
in my head, it's you, Tatiana and Willow. You're at the top, though.
You have to say that.
And then, I do, but I'll also have reasons behind it. But then I think it would be Willow and Tatiana in third. I think mainly because these events suit you better, and out of those two, Willow and Tatiana, you're more technically skilled. That's not to say that these two obviously couldn't get more technically skilled, because Willow is obviously still in second year of competing.
Yeah.
She is amazing, an absolutely unbelievable athlete, but I think that you've just got training time over her. Do you know what I mean? You've got comp experience over her. And then with Tatiana is really, really strong, but I think you're more technical with your strength. And I think that'll, for the events that are on now for this UK's, I think that'll work more in your favour than it will in her. Because there's not, these events aren't really just raggy strength, are they? Yeah,
no, they are quite a technical set of events, and two press events, which are arguably the more technical things, aren't they?
So in my head, that's where your podium's going to be.
Cheers, mate.
And so then for under 82s for me, we'll wait until the athlete list is out, I think, to discuss 73s, because I want to see who's going to do it.
Such an exciting category, though. I do think, for for people that are new in the last few years, the 73s didn't exist. It was, it was 63s. The 64 is new. So
Yeah.
63s to 82s, and there was nothing in between there in the OG strongman competitions. So the 73s is a relatively new thing, and there was a lot of discussion whether it was going to be worth bringing this in and whether it was going to fill up. And do you know what? I think it's the most stacked category. I'm going to say it. I think it is.
I 100% agree. And
I'm glad I'm not in it.
No, me too. I think obviously you've got like, fuck it, we'll just do predictions. Who cares? There's obviously Chloe, who's like, I'm going to put it out there, a step ahead, because I just think she's a different level of athlete.
Yeah.
There's people that are going to keep her on her toes this year, guarantee, but I don't really have many doubts that Chloe's going to just absolutely wallop everybody, because she just has, I think as well with Chloe, it's a different mentality. Like, it's not that she knows she's good, she holds herself to a really high fucking standard, and I think that's an important thing to do in this. Is if you think you're going to get good, you need to sort of believe that you're going to be good and that you're going to be something different. You're going to be like a different level, a different caliber of athlete. And she's got that little bit of like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm Chloe Brennan.
Yeah. And she's also played the long game. Like, she's been around a while. She's done
100%,
these high level comps. She's done, she's put the time in.
She's put the time in, and she's put herself out there. She's put herself into situations where, like, she probably knows she's not going to do particularly well, but if she does do particularly well, then it pays off fucking huge.
Yeah.
So,
And those comps where it's heavy and you maybe won't do particularly well, they're the ones where you learn so much.
100%.
And I think that's where she's done them, and she's done that for year on year, and it's now, paying
paid off massively,
Yeah, I agree. She's definitely front runner in my eyes going into this. Yeah,
I agree. And then I genuinely think, so qualifying spots for Worlds, I imagine what there's going to be is a 6 or something. 5 or 6, I don't know. I'll have to double check. But I think it's going to be a genuine toss-up. I think those qualifying spots are going to be so hard to fight for, because you've got obviously like Alex, who won England's, Desi, who came 3rd, that Hannah Conroy Lax, who came 2nd. Got Faye Pittman from Wales, who won the Welsh one.
Lou in Scotland.
Lou French from Scotland, She'll absolutely smash it, because she's injury-free as well this year. She'll be a bloody nightmare.
Laura Hollywood, who is straight through from last year, kept Chloe on her toes at Worlds.
Oh, massively.
That was...
Who else did we have? Who came third? Who was the podium for UK's last year in 73s? Chloe... Laura and... Oh, God, I can't remember.
Was it Lou?
Oh, yeah, it was Lou, wasn't it? Yeah, that was it. Yeah, so... But, like, there, so you've got Chloe, Laura, Lou, Faye Pittman... Desi, Alex, Hannah. So there's 7 athletes that are all, like...
completely world's level.
Yeah, who are going to give it an absolute, like, beating.
I don't think there's another category that has that many, like...
No.
Any of those,
as we've said,
could be
Chloe, second.
Yeah, any of those could be on the podium.
100%. There's absolutely no shoe-in for that podium at all. It's like genuinely all to play for, and I think it'll be so interesting to watch.
Yeah, such an exciting category.
It'll be good, because I reckon them points will change massive throughout the day. It'll be like one. This is going to be a competition, I think, in the 73s where you make one wrong move and you fucked it. You're out for the count. Like, you're done in, because
everyone else is on your heels.
Yeah, there's going to be no room for error there, so pressure on, guys.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Good luck for you.
I'm excited for that. I'm excited to watch that as a fan.
Me too. I think the 73 is just so good. So for anyone who originally said, well, what's plate number that class? Freaking eat your words.
Eat your words.
Yeah.
That's the class.
It's here to stay now, innit?
Yeah.
But yeah, so... Moving on to 82s, obviously I'm going to win, because I'm the best.
World's strongest woman.
But again, I think not as stacked as the 73s, but I think it's still going to be up there. So, like, we've got, obviously, Emma Grunell, Jess Tate, Hope Christie, Hayley Black. Who else was I thinking of today? Who was on that podium? Oh, Panda.
Panda, yeah.
Holiday. Panda Holiday, who's come out of bloody fucking
No,
nowhere.
she hasn't.
Bloody, I remember we did England's that shit one last year at Fit Expo. I'm not even going to pretend that I liked it. I fucking hated that comp. And I'll put it out there now.
Death of the untested pathway.
Shite. Death of the untested pathway, that. And yeah, it was that max distance sandbag where I got fucked over and ended up going out first. So I thought, fuck it, I'm going to put a right score up here. Yous are all fucked. And I did. I can't remember what I did. But then Panda came out and beat me.
She did something silly. And she didn't even appear to raise a sweat.
No, she didn't look like she was fucking trying.
Insane,
Just nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
Her moving is insane.
Yeah, and everyone had sort of gone like, oh, it might be a bit out of Panda's depth. Like, I know there'd been like a couple of mentions throughout the day, and she held it so well that day. It was unbelievable. And then when I saw her at England's, she doesn't post a lot on Instagram, annoyingly, so I can't keep up to date with what she's doing. But when I saw her at England's, I was like, who the fuck is this? Like, just a
Leveled up
different,
again.
different calibre this year. So I think it wouldn't surprise me if she gets onto the podium at UK's this year. I think these events will suit her.
I was going to say, we've got, 2 moving events, which seem to be her forte. And then, little sort of spanners in the works, like the rubbery stones and the circus dumbbell.
Could just be her thing and just push her up there. So I think, although I'm fairly safe in first place, I think the rest of the podium is all to play for. And again, you've got like the likes of Jess Tate, who's got such good pressing power. Like, I think she'll be a bit of a nightmare as well because of obviously like the 2 press events. Emma Grunnell's obviously always there, just tapping at my door, biting me heels,
Keeping
ready to fucking knock me off that top spot. Bear in mind, though, that she has said that the minute she beats me, she's going to retire. So there's almost a little part of me that thinks just throw it to get her fucked off.
I won't be letting her retire, sorry.
No, fuck that then. I'm not going to let her win. But yeah, so, and then obviously like Hayley Black from last year, I think she'd gone to win UK's. And again, just like little technique tweaks that if she's trained them and worked on them, she'll be a nightmare to beat again. And just so fucking statically strong. But she's another one that never posts her fucking weight, so I can't keep
secret sausage.
Can't keep tracks on these people. And Hope Christie, she's come on fucking loads as well this year. I think she's, especially her mindset, like she just seems to be more like fucking let's go.
Yeah, enjoying it, which is
the
key.
main part. Yeah, key. But I think the 82s is going to be an interesting one. Obviously, you're all going to have to try and fucking beat me, and I'm going to be fucking sick. So good luck with that. But
but again, like I don't think there's a weight category where there isn't the depth, which is, it's not like you've just got the odd outlier that's amazing. You've actually got a competition for qualifying spots, which
100%. Well, there's
huge.
like 5 or 6, I think. Like, it's not going to be like there's, like you said, 1 or 2 outliers and the rest of the pack. The packs are split fairly evenly, if not more in favour of like the top end than the bottom end. So
absolutely.
I think it'll be super interesting to see.
I was genuinely surprised at England how good everyone was.
Yeah, same.
Like, it was crazy considering really this pathway is in its infancy to say that there was a waiting list for England and the athletes that were there were so good.
100%.
Like, I'm well impressed, and I think it's huge for the sport. Like, this is the growth that we want, and this is how it's going to grow. And I think it's amazing.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. I think it'll be a really good competition to see, so make sure you're all there.
Get your tickets.
I don't even know if you can buy tickets yet, but
when they're out, get your tickets.
You might be able to. Right, should we do a silly gooser just to finish it off?
Yeah, let's do it.
I haven't got my phone for my silly goose question, so I'll have to come up with one on the spot.
What's that?
Oh, there, it's there. I'm just me being stupid. Silly goose question. So Emma actually told us that she'd made a song, but we're yet to hear it, so fuck you, Emma Grunnell. Send me that song, because I can't wait to hear it now. And now everybody's going to know that there is a song there waiting, so you've got
is on.
Extra pressure on. So I think what we'll do for our silly goose question is, what type of insect would you be and why?
Oh, wow.
Do you want to have a think about it? I've already decided.
Right, talk to me about yours.
So I would 100% be a spider because I want the legs. I want to be fast. And I like the thought of people being terrified of me. The only downfall I feel like being a spider is that you target, aren't you? If you don't like
flies. You've got to eat flies.
I know, but I hate flies. I'd fuck them flies. I'd love to eat them. I'd love to trap them in my web and like coffin them and then fucking KO them. Love to kill flies. It's great.
Yeah, I think the web building powers is a good one.
There's just so many benefits. I feel like there's so many benefits, and the only risk is that people are going to actively try and kill you all the time.
Squash you.
So as long as you can be a sneaky spider, you're pretty safe, aren't you?
Yeah, you just not live in anyone's house, because then you're fine, aren't you? Go about your business.
Live in someone's garage or something.
It's when you're in a house that you're going to get squashed.
Yeah.
I think I'd quite like to be a stick insect.
Yeah, that's another good shout, yeah.
Because I'm quite lazy at heart. I make myself do all these things, but I don't really want to do them. So if I could just be a stick.
And do nothing. What does a stick insect eat? Aphids or something? Or leaves?
I'm hoping, this is what I'm thinking, I'm hoping they're one of the vegetarian insects. I think maybe they eat leaves.
If you didn't know, Mollie's a vegetarian.
I don't want to eat flies at all. So maybe I'm hoping, are they stick insects vegetarian?
I feel like they'd eat aphids, me. I don't think they just eat leaves.
But aphids are little. I could pretend it's like a grain of rice or something.
As if that Shanley's still alive, you know. You shit vegetarian, you.
Yeah, I'm a bit shit. Stick insect would be good. And I feel like, I don't know if this is just mum life talking, but I could just lie there pretending to be a stick and no one would bother me. I would love that.
That is a good point, yeah. That is a good point. I like that point.
No point talking to her, she's a stick, and I just have such a quiet life.
Never bothered by anyone. People are like, just another stick.
And then you could move and scare people if you're feeling that way out.
Just a bit excited, you're like, a bit bored of no one talking to me.
Yeah.
Shit someone up by jumping out at them. I used to have a load of stick insects when I was young.
They're cool, aren't they?
Well, it wasn't cool at all. I'm going to really put my mum in it now. She's going to be furious I've told this story. But we moved house when I wasn't young. I was like a teenager or something. And the house wasn't ready, so we had to move into a caravan. But I wasn't allowed to live in the caravan because I had to sleep outside in like the awning bit because I was working in like a pub and a sandwich shop. So I was out at all hours of the fucking day. So I lived in this little tent outside. And I had a jar of stick insects, like a big plastic tub of them, and they just like lived in this little tent with me. But obviously they shouldn't have been living in the tent with me. And one day I went out to work and I left them in the caravan, and obviously when I came back it was like the height of summer and it had been fucking boiling and it had just killed them all. They'd all just like died in this tub because it was so fucking warm. And yeah, I fully blame my mum, and then she blamed me because I shouldn't have left them in there. But I was like, what am I going to do? Take my fucking stick insects in the jar to work? Like, in the sandwich shop with me? I might be pushing the fucking limit. But yeah, so they all died, and now I feel like I've got PTSD from having stick insects. And although I'd love to have them again, I feel like I'll never forgive myself for the guilt of killing the first ones.
They must need quite a constant temperature.
I just think being inside a boiling hot caravan in the height of summer probably enough to kill anybody, let alone a fucking stick insect. So yeah, that's a sad story to end the podcast
It's a
on.
sad story. So yeah, I'd like to be a stick insect, but not one of Becca's stick insects.
Not under my care though.
Not a responsible stick insect mother.
No, yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, that's fair enough. So, how do people find you then if they want to find you? So Mollie is a coach. Have you got spaces?
Not as a stick insect.
She's not a stick insect. She is actually a strongman coach.
In real life,
strongman coach. Do you have coaching spaces available?
I do have a couple of strongman coaching spaces available at the moment. Actually, yeah, I do. So yeah, I'm on Instagram, Mollifts. So yeah, just message me. Obviously. Good timing for UKs or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got a couple of spaces available at the minute.
Perfect, yeah. And if want to find her, I'll tag her in the show notes as well, so you've got her Instagram. And yeah, plenty of time to get a good prep in for UKs. You could also be one of the winners. Obviously, all our team's going to be winners, apart from Emma, who's going to have to come second, but that's fine for Emma. She can tolerate that.
We will accept second.
We will accept second and third places as well. We don't have to be a team of winners, but we'd like to be.
That's the goal.
But yeah, thank you very much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye!